2 minutes.
This is really interesting. Alinghi's really up early to the line, and you know, they must have decided they want the left-hand side of the course, because they've positioned themselves to lead in very, very early here.
Well, that's what they've done over the last two races. I know the Team New Zealand have wondered, have Alinghi wanted the left on both occasions? And it seems they have. Right, we're coming down to 90 seconds now. This is really getting serious.
Yeah, Alinghi really desperately wanted the left there. They were prepared to give away the line bias or whatever line bias there was, and they just wanted to establish that left side of the start.
So we'll see them, even if they start down to leeward, they'll want to keep it close and try and bunch up on Team New Zealand.
Well, that would be the ideal start. You know, Team New Zealand may well choose to start on port here and then position themselves up on the windward side, you know, a little bit further away from Alinghi than what they've been doing in the previous starts.
Right, that's the key thing to watch out for as we're coming down to 50 seconds. Will Team New Zealand now tack away and go on to port? That's with the wind on the left-hand side. And will it be Alinghi on starboard with the wind on the right going down to the pin end of the line as we're coming down to 35 seconds. This really has been time on distance, Russell.
Yeah.
20 seconds now.
Yeah.
And they're close, and it does look like as it Team New Zealand tacking away, as Russell predicted, they are going across to the pin end. It is a split tack start.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised Team New Zealand left that tack that late into the box, or into the starting sequence.
Race 3. It's a split tack start. Alinghi on starboard, breaking out to the left. Meanwhile, Team New Zealand are on port.
Nice and low, guys.
Going across the face of the committee boat.
Mark yellow.
Yeah, I really think, you know, they should have pulled the trigger, you know, quite a bit earlier there and got their boat speed up on starboard and then, you know, initiated the tack earlier and been at full speed at the start gun would have been
Team New Zealand should have pulled the trigger, you reckon, earlier?
I think so, but it's obviously going to come down to which side of the course is favoured here. I think it was, you know, if they wanted to start to the right, that was the right way to do it. They just didn't quite execute that, you know, to the way you'd ideally want to do it.
Righto, Russell, this is a match race. Someone's got to be right and wrong here already. This is a big separation so quickly out at the start. Boy, oh boy. This will be tough on the nerves of the campaigns. So Alinghi is coming back now and they've decided to tack. This has been a big separation so quickly at this stage. And Alinghi has been credited having gone through the tack. They're still leading by 60 metres or so.
Yeah, well, Team New Zealand gave away probably, I would say, a good 20 metres at that start there. So we, and you know, but the most important thing will be, you know, what the breeze does in terms of strength and direction up here. You could easily see, you know, a 60-metre swing, just with a little bit more pressure, you know, favoured to one boat, or you know, certainly a 10-degree wind shift. It'd mean more than a little advantage gained at the start.
Without his tag.
If you look at the wind on the weather buoys here, you can see a 99 degree just to the upper left of where the boats are right now, and it's now at 104 at 8.4 knots, and when they started it was 115, 124 on the start boat now. So if that wind comes down the course, then the left-hand advantage that the Alinghi have right now could be quite a big gainer for them.
Similar pressure.
All right, well, 1 minute Alinghi were looking pretty famous there, and all of a sudden Team New Zealand's closed the game up. As you said, Russell, it's going to be spotty and patchy. Boy, the nerves, it's going to be tense out there.
Yeah, and wind strength, you know, when the breeze is down this much, wind strength plays a huge factor, because the boat points a lot higher when you get a little bit more breeze. So not only do you go faster, but you also are able to point higher.
There's not much runway left on the right, is what I'm saying, you know.
So we hear Ray Davis saying there's not much runway left on the right, but Team New Zealand have jumped out to nearly 100-metre lead at the stage. Boy, oh boy, talk about patchy, and they've just got that pressure and they've taken off.
Well, this first cross is going to be absolutely critical, and you know, if they keep this lead, this is a really good start for Team New Zealand.
All right, so we're coming to very close to the first cross. We hear Ray Davies saying not much runway.
Happy with the right for pressure still.
When you look at the track here on the virtual eye, you can see the yellow and the blue paths separating quite a lot. And as the path separates, that just indicates the extra pressure on the right. And if we look now at the VMG figures on both boats, we'll see the extra speed and extra height that on the New Zealand boat. It's 8.2 and 6.6 VMG, which is a massive difference to have between the boats. Normally they're within 0.1 of a knot of each other, and this is going to just translate into massive separation between the two boats. And we can see 320 metres in the lead, but the big thing is the separation, and this lead's growing by the second for the New Zealanders.
That's 750 metres, or 3/4 of a kilometre apart. The first beat, that's significant. But also, Cameron, I suppose that leads to those danger signs, isn't it? You know, gosh, we're a long way away from each other. It's that situation that one team. Well, look at there's a fair bit of motion out there, a bit of sea state that we haven't seen for a while. But the separation means you've got to be alert all the time.
Yeah, and that's why we talk about, you know, you can almost get too big a lead in this light, shifty conditions, because you can't, when you get too far away, it's very hard to cover the other person. And downwind's going to be a very interesting day. That, you know, can't get too carried away too early in the race here for Team New Zealand. Downwind's going to be really, really tough. And, you know, as the boat behind starts getting the puffs first, and you get one knot or 2 knots more pressure, as we've seen on the buoys, you can make some big gains back into the leading boat.
And a difficult wave here or there. They're not sleeping, but they're keeping down and out of the wind.
Yeah, these are the two main grinders, Mark McTeague and Matt Welling from the Alinghi team, just keeping down nice and low.
Well, after a 2-hour delay, we saw Emirates Team New Zealand enter from starboard, and they took the action deep into the box. Alinghi clearly wanting the left, and Emirates Team New Zealand similarly wanting the right, as it turned out. And it was a very good call. They conceded 80 metres or so off the not long after the start, but then being out to the right certainly was favoured. And Team New Zealand's lead is now 300 metres. 300 metres, leg one.
Yeah, this is really tough conditions, and this is kind of why Peter Reggio was delaying the start a few times as well. You know, this is getting to a point, if you can get a boat that's going to be over 300 metres ahead at the first mark, means that it's been very, very shifty and unstable out there.
Well, Russell out on North Star with Peter Montgomery. Russell, as I mentioned that, you know, Ray Davies said afterwards that the weather teams, I mean, we know they play a major part, but on a day like this, the guys on the boats, the weather spotters, this really is a big test for them, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because you've got to really just look at the wind drifting across the water and try and figure out where there's consistently more pressure, and we've seen the result of that. I mean, Team New Zealand's had just more wind all the way up on the starboard tack and just got further and further ahead. This is just a massive lead, and very, very difficult for Alinghi to get back into this race now, I would say. Yeah, so they'll be using a code down probably in sail, meaning if they normally were using a code 2 Jenica, they'd use a code 1.
So at the end of the first beat to windward in race number 3, Team New Zealand has jumped out to a colossal lead. here it clicks off at 1:23. Who would have believed it? At the end of the first leg, Mark 1, it is Alinghi, the defender of the America's Cup, trailing the challenger by 1:23.
New Zealand would have enjoyed just sailing past Alinghi here and taking a little bit of their pressure away from them, and nice and easy on the right-hand side, down the run with probably more pressure out there. It's a bit of a no-brainer, and now from here on they just have to cover any moves that Alinghi make. And I think we could see here that when Alinghi jibed off, they had a nice bit of pressure and they sailed into Emirates Team New Zealand just a little bit, but Emirates Team New Zealand knew that they would also get that pressure and that it was a short gust. We heard them up the mast saying it's not going to last for long, and it didn't. So New Zealand just sailing with a loose cover downwind, breathing behind, and doing a nice job.
Well, Alinghi has clawed back, but Team New Zealand still very comfortable. Whoop, who's gone swimming there? Boy, oh boy. Oh, that's Richard Meacham, I think. Oh, he makes it look so simple and he doesn't go diving in the water like that. So here comes the drop from Team New Zealand. This is halfway through the race.
Yeah, just because of that wind shift there, they were caught a little bit out of position where they couldn't quite lay the mark, so they had to do a double jibe at the end. Again, not a major problem. They've got a nice lead, and they just prefer to go around the mark and be hitting the right mark, should I say, and be hitting the correct way. Alinghi might have made a little gain down here, but I don't think it's enough of a gain to really put Team New Zealand under pressure.
Halfway through the race now, another windward leeward to go, and the clock is ticking against Alinghi.
It was interesting what happened on that drop of Team New Zealand. Not sure if something went wrong with the string line or whatever, but they took them a while to get the Jenica into the boat.
Team New Zealand led by 1 minute 23 seconds at mark number 1. This is the white Jenica of Alinghi coming down to the mark. They're going around at a different mark, different gate on Alinghi. Remember, 1:23. No, they're still the same mark they are going.
Yeah.
Here they are winding up 1:23. At least they have reduced it to.
I think they were both saying that it was a big right-hand shift there, so they would have had to have gone around that gate mark.
So from 1:23 down to 1:02. But that is still a massive advantage to Team New Zealand in this weight of breeze and this seaway Russell Coots.
Well, that's right. If somebody said, I'll give you a minute advantage at the bottom mark, I think you'd be pretty happy with that, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Dick Meacham off the bow trying to get the string line. He didn't get it, I think, Cameron, and that's when he went in the water, and therefore we had a slow sail, slow spinnaker drop, poor recovery. It's taken them until now to get the spinnaker out of sight.
Yeah, it was a pretty tough situation. They got a bit of a wind shift coming into the bottom mark, and they actually put themselves, well, I wouldn't say they put themselves, they ended up in a very tough situation where they had to do a right side Kiwi drop and then jibe back again, so they ended up going very slow around the mark. And Richard Meacham went out to get the string line, and that's when in these sloppy conditions, he lost control a little bit and almost fell in the water. And that just didn't allow them to get the string line hooked up, and they had to jibe, had to do the drop. So then they did a manual drop, and in those conditions, without the string sucking the spinnaker in, they're doing a Kiwi drop, which is when you jibe, the spinnaker is coming down the windward side of the boat. There's a lot of places on the rig for the spinnaker to get caught up in.
And it did.
And that's what happened, and we've seen them take a couple of minutes around the mark to actually get the spinnaker cleared out of the Genoa sheets.
Okay, we can just have a look through Ben Morris and Jack and Virtual about how this has affected them and what happened.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting last couple of minutes. Firstly with this drop and the right-hand shift at the bottom mark. You would like to think these guys were professional enough not to have any distraction from that spinnaker on the bow, and I don't think they did. But what happened was a bit of a wind shift and perhaps some difference in pressure. We see here the VMGs on the two boats, and look at the separation just growing and growing, which is translated straight into at least a 150 metre comeback for Alinghi, and although the lead's still quite a big one from Team New Zealand, if it does get even more fluky out there, then they could be close enough to pounce.
It's basically bow to bow.
It is bow to bow. They're giving it 5 metres.
Yeah, they're doing it.
It's a big dip. It's a big dip.
Team New Zealand's tackling bow here.
So it's Team New Zealand. They wanted to obviously, okay, their lee bow tack. Now here's a key thing. Will Alinghi be able to live there, Russell? This is going to be a trial of strength. Quickly though, before we watch all that, number one, translate just what's happened.
Well, this was all set up by getting in a phase at the bottom mark. You know, the big right-hand shift, it might have happened really quickly. We heard the guys on the boats talking about it. It kind of confused their drop a little bit. And most importantly, they got out of phase with the wind at the bottom mark, sailed through the header, and then it split the wrong way. Boy, they've got to...
Just to also talk, Russell, what's happened? The lee bow tack, Team New Zealand tacking where they did. Alinghi's living there. Is this a replay and reverse of what we saw 2 days ago?
It may be. You know, it looked like Team New Zealand pulled that lee bow tack a little bit early, a little bit like Alinghi did yesterday. But these are tough conditions. You know, you've got big waves and you've got to time the tack on the wave as well as the relative position to the other boat. So it's you know, if it was easy, anyone would be out there doing it. I think Team New Zealand will squeeze them off here. It's just a matter of whether they can do it early enough.
Righto, translate. What you're saying is that the left-hand side of the bow, the front end of Team New Zealand, they'll be able to bring it up and make it so difficult that Alinghi's going to have to tack away. In other words, move out to the left. Is it your hunch?
Yeah, it's amazing how much the wind is affected even above the sails in these big boats. You know, so Alinghi will be getting affected, and they're obviously, they would have tacked away even before now if they didn't really want to stay on this tack, because they've already lost a little bit versus Team New Zealand. But they obviously, the breeze is heavily probably in the left here, and Alinghi just want to hold and see if they can hold them,
get out to the lay line,
out to that lay line.
But if they can lay out there, then they're going to lead in.
Yeah, well, Team New Zealand definitely did that lee bow tack a little early. Same sort of deal as what Alinghi did yesterday.
Right, so the key, that's Murray Jones. Hi, is it Murray Jones? I can't quite see now. Anyway, it's the drag race is on here. It's down to 6 metres. It was 18 metres or 20 metres nearly. So Team New Zealand's making it difficult for Alinghi, and as Russell said, normally Alinghi would tack out to the left, but they want to hang in there to try and get to the ley line. What an incredible boat race. What an incredible day of racing we've seen. Oh.
Well, that's going to be heartbreaking for these guys. I mean, wow.
But look, it's almost bow to bow now.
Yeah, they look as though they're going to get to Alinghi. Alinghi's going to have to break off before the ley line, I think. And that being the case, you know, Team New Zealand should still be able to lead around this next mark. The boats are pretty even. I don't think there's any advantage of Alinghi, that's for sure. There's speed-wise, upwind or downwind.
Well, it'll come back to boat handling, sail handling. Oh, this is a fantastic race now. It looked like it was going to be an exhibition and a procession at the top mark last time with a colossal lead of way in the high 300s. And now it's around about a 10-metre lead to Team New Zealand, closing to the top mark.
Well, of course, if Alinghi was sitting there with a, say, a 15-metre advantage now, they'd take over early before they got to the ley line.
Why?
Well, they're going to spend 15 metres in attack, and they'd be in a dipping situation, and it would be, as I keep saying, a difficult one for Team New Zealand.
Well, Alinghi's now credited.
Yeah, this could happen. I can't see.
Without now being in front. The pendulum has swung back.
No, they're not.
I'm getting punch drunk.
They're not in front, but because Team New Zealand's still got the starboard tack rights, and Alinghi's got to do attack.
Yes.
But if they get out to 20, 25 metres, I would expect they'll come across and meet Team New Zealand before this ley line.
Here they are coming back. So it's tack now. Right, tell us what you can see here, Russell.
Big dip down by Team New Zealand. Team New Zealand's going to dial them.
Here we come. Will Alinghi be able to cross? Will Alinghi, or are they going to leave out? What? Ooh.
Good defending by Team New Zealand there.
And now it's Team New Zealand who tack away. So Team New Zealand pulled the bow down towards Alinghi. There was a couple of moves back though. Oh.
I can't see where they are on the course, unfortunately, but
getting very close to the top mark.
I think it was a good move, good defending by Team New Zealand there.
So they're right in the apex of the triangle.
Yeah.
About 500 meters to the top mark.
This is a difficult position on the course for Team New Zealand to defend.
Why?
Alinghi's done a nice job.
Here it is now. We can see they're coming right to the apex. Team New Zealand out to the right. Why is it difficult for Team New Zealand, Russell?
Team New Zealand's got to decide now whether to go out to the starboard tack ley line and defend, and that's assuming that there's no wind shifts. You know, if the breeze goes left here, Alinghi's going to cross them.
What a boat race. This is just incredible after what we saw earlier on with a huge advantage. And close to 400 meters, and now this. And the pendulum is starting to swing back. I take your covenant, Russell. They've got to tack. That's going to take 25 meters. They've got to cross them. And remember, Team New Zealand will have the starboard hand advantage. They've got right away. They're on starboard at the moment. And Alinghi's got to tack back. Yeah. Here they go now. Righto, take it to us, Russell. Think aloud. Tell us what you're thinking. Go.
Well, Team New Zealand should have a piece of them here, meaning that they should be able to tack them over onto starboard.
That's the mark they're heading to up there, Russell.
Yeah, it's real close.
Will they be able to pinch up if they underlaid it? Are Alinghi going to be able to tack through?
Well,
if Alinghi can hold this and get through, will they be able to cross over in front? This is an incredible cross, folks.
No, they're definitely not.
No, here we go.
I think they're going to have to dip Team New Zealand.
Here they go. Are they going to make a commitment? The umpires are right there. They're going to live there. They're going to cross. Alinghi's going to cross. Alinghi's in front. Alinghi has crossed us in front, and they're in the shadow of the top mark 3. Alinghi is in front. Can you believe it, folks? They've come from behind by nearly 400 meters astern at this mark last go. Now the defender is in front. 1 leg to go. What a race. Into the final leg. Alinghi goes to the hoist. We'll get them round the mark, and then we'll get Russell Cooch to translate that. And believe it or not, Team New Zealand, after leading at this mark by 1 minute 23, are now trailing by 15 seconds. Boy, oh boy, Team New Zealand's closing in here. The anxiety level's going up again. The pendulum swinging back again.
Yeah, and Alinghi's got to perform a jibe yet too to get down to Team New Zealand. So really close here, about a bow probably.
Oh. So we're getting well down the course now. And again, you can see how it's spotty out there. 7 knots out, nearly 8 knots out to the left, 6 and a bit out to the right. You said earlier in the day, Russell, was going to be difficult downhill and spotty, and that's what we're seeing. It could be the winning and losing of the race. Alinghi's in front just.
Yeah, I've got to say, I'm surprised Alinghi didn't jibe earlier here and even come back and you know, bounce Team New Zealand down towards the ley line, because they could have.
It's under 10 meters. Team New Zealand's getting closer. It's incredible. It's going to be bow to bow in a moment. Team New Zealand's clawing into this. What a race. Well, already this race was going to sail into America's Cup history.
Yeah, I'm surprised that when Team New Zealand jibed onto starboard, Alinghi didn't jibe back at them. The breeze must be firmly in the left down here to keep Alinghi on this tack. Otherwise, they would have for sure jibed and gone down and then set up on Team New Zealand.
And what Russell's talking about, folks, is jibing is changing direction with the wind behind you. In other words, they move the sails across and head across towards Team New Zealand is what he's talking about.
Yeah, but they haven't got the option now, because if they jibe now, they'll be behind Team New Zealand. So they've got to wait for some sort of wind shift back or some sort of gust back. Right now, Team New Zealand's ahead right now.
Team New Zealand is ahead. Team New Zealand has come from behind. Team New Zealand trailed by 15 seconds. And now Team New Zealand is in front.
Fastest angle, yeah?
Boy, oh boy.
100.
This is incredible. And we're getting close to the finish now.
I'm pretty surprised that Alinghi didn't close that down a little bit more then. This is... it's obviously not easy conditions out here. That's what you could say.
Similar pressure, yeah?
Certainly a lot easier sitting on the commentary boat.
It is, absolutely. Right, coming up to the final 1,500 metres. A distance famous in another sport. But the final 1,500 metres in this race, what will be going through the mind of that man, the tactician and skipper of Alinghi? He had it. They were out to nearly 100-metre advantage. Incredible to think that Team New Zealand led by over 400 metres.
I mean, in hindsight, and just where these boats are set up on this course, it's hard to see why, as soon as Team New Zealand jibed onto starboard, why Alinghi didn't jibe back onto port, even if they had lost a bit. I think they still could have easily gone down, set up on Team New Zealand on the long jibe into the finish. Now it's just too late to contemplate that. They've got to wait and try and they're getting a shift back now.
They're getting the shift back.
But
yes.
they need a bigger one than this to get back to Team New
Expand
Zealand.
more, Russell. People across New Zealand are hanging on every word you're saying. Why do they need more? What's got to happen? What has Team New Zealand got to do now to get their bow back?
Well, but because they'll spend 15, 20 metres in a jibe.
Yeah.
And then Team New Zealand's got starboard tack rights there, so it gives them a little bit more. Yeah, the breeze is starting to phase back to the left now, obviously, because you can see Alinghi's gaining. And that's just wind shift. That's not boat speed or anything like that. That's just straight wind shift when the boats are this distance apart. So Alinghi's waiting for a shift to the right. Sorry, a shift to the right, and that will favour them and put them in front.
Good pressure with this header.
So Ray Davies talking about good pressure.
Yeah. More header to come.
More header. So Team New Zealand reckon they got a header now. So we'll get Russell to translate that in a minute about the header. So now Alinghi is credited with being a 60-second. Russell, people hanging across on every word you're saying. Just quickly explain. Ray Davies saying the Team New Zealand's got a header.
Well, Team New Zealand want a header now too. If a header means the breeze has gone left, and a left would mean the breeze has gone right. So if the breeze goes right, it favours Alinghi. If the breeze goes left, it favours Team New Zealand. So it's just really, this race is going to be decided by the wind here. Pretty loose race at the bottom of the run by Alinghi, and it's going to be interesting to see what pans out in the end.
100 again.
So that's Ray Davies talking. There's still a hell of a separation here between these boats. It's amazing. Seeing it with the naked eye, folks, it's amazing. And boy, oh boy, it's clouding down now. So here comes Alinghi going through the jibe. And Team New Zealand's right into this. Is absolutely bow to bow. Virtual Eye giving it to Alinghi just by a matter of metres. It's not even that. It'll be Team New Zealand any moment with their bow in front. Now it's Team New Zealand. The lead changes again according to Virtual Eye. Oh.
Yeah, I think this is looking very, very strong for New Zealand here. They've got starboard tack rights, and they're, there's a lot of separation to the boats, so they're going to be down at the finish line by the time the boats converge.
Oh, this is incredible.
Another 100,
The separation just over 200 metres now. They're coming there. It's just over 200 metres to the finish. Virtual Eye has Team New Zealand in front. The fans are cheering as though it's a football game. Race 3 of the 32nd America's Cup sails into America's Cup history as a dramatic thriller. Team New Zealand led by just over 400 metres at Mark 1. At Mark 3, the pendulum had turned through dramatic happenings, and it was Alinghi that led by nearly 100 metres. And then over halfway down the last leg, it was Team New Zealand that got back in front. The pendulum swung back to Alinghi, and now we come to the finish, and in an absolute thriller, one of the great races in America's Cup history, it is Team New Zealand that come back, and they will cross ahead of the defender. Absolutely stunning. It's been a thriller. It's been pulsating. It's been heart-stopping. It is Team New Zealand that have beaten Alinghi. It is Team New Zealand 2, Alinghi 1. What a race. What a thriller. Incredible. Russell Coots, can you believe it? You've been involved in enough America's Cup competition, you've studied the history. This has been one of the great races.